Amber Cox has leaked some information to Fever insiders, letting them know the plans for the roster for the 2020.
Get this, then. Massive clues regarding the offseason were just revealed by the Indiana Fever's front office. And you know what? Caitlin Clark is there at the center of it all. What could be the most significant offseason in the team's history was clearly spelled out by General Manager Amber Cox. Some of these proposals seem quite audacious, possibly even startling. What are your thoughts? Is it better for the Fever to rebuild around Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, or should they focus entirely on pursuing veterans in hopes of winning a championship now? Tell me in the comments section. Now that the Fever's front office has finally stated the silent but aloud, let's get started.
A movie hustle and said, hey, we need some scouts overseas.
This past week, Chloe Peterson of the Indy Star had a conversation with Amber Cox, the general manager of the Indiana Fever. In all honesty, she provided us with enough hints to keep any Fever fan excited into January. The main conclusion is that they intend to have one of the most competitive off-seasons in the history of this organization. And, to be honest, that makes perfect sense. You don't play the long game when you have players like Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark on the same squad. You simply take action.
All right, so Amber Cox ended up getting the question asked to her. With all the things going on with the CBA, you're sitting in the dark. How do they prepare? How do you prepare specifically for off-season events they don't have information on, right? Because they are in the dark. They don't know what's going to happen. We don't even know if 2020...
Look, Cox essentially stated that this team has finished its development. They are now formally entering the contesting phase. Here's the problem, though. They're attempting to balance all of this with a lot of WNBA drama. In addition to the insane free agency shuffle and the impending CBA negotiations, Kelsey Mitchell's future is also rather questionable. Since there's when things became really intriguing, let's start with that final section. Amber Cox made it clear that their number one objective is to have Kelsey Mitchell quit. It isn't a rumor. It isn't conjecture. That was directly from the general manager.
She was just saying how Kelsey Mitchell is their number one priority, same as this year, right? In my opinion, man, I think the main thing that they need to focus on after getting your core back, I think you need to focus on a stretch 4 or stretch 5. If you could get 2 of them, that would be grand. But a defensive stretch 4, stretch 5, that would be...
That informs you 2 important things, to be honest. First of all, they completely understand how important Kelsey's goal was throughout Caitlin's absence. Second, they are aware that the team's identity would be totally altered if she were to leave. Mitchell was quite charismatic in the last moments. She simply left while Clark was gone. She demonstrated that she could carry the offense when they needed her, and her statistics soared. Thus, Indiana is currently facing an issue. A nice problem, but a problem nevertheless. Mitchell's worth just increased. You can guarantee that every team in the league is keeping a careful eye on her now that she is an unrestricted free agent. There is a lot of interest from teams like Chicago, Atlanta, and even the new Portland club. The Fever must make their most important offseason choice at this point. Do they preserve that money for other veterans who can help complete the roster, or do they offer Kelsey Mitchell a supermax deal to keep her happy? Everything is on the table, according to Amber Cox's hint. She remarked, "The team's strategy is simple. The controllables are under our control. That basically means that we have no idea how this new CBA will turn up. We are thus making plans for everything." She's also not incorrect. Nobody is certain how the WNBA's new agreement will affect player rights, pay caps, or international play. The core years rule, the one that allows teams to tie players down with those big max contracts, may even be eliminated. The entire free agency system is turned upside down if that occurs. There, the Fever has the potential to either triumph or be completely caught off guard. According to Amber, they're getting ready by scouting more thoroughly than ever, examining college players, foreign players, and free agents. Additionally, they prioritize individual development programs, which entails setting off-season objectives for athletes to return even more resilient. This is where the fun begins. There are just 3 players officially contracted by the Fever for. I'm sure you can guess who they are. Aaliyah Boston, Caitlin Clark, and Melissa Smith. That's all. The others are in the air. One restricted free agent is Lexi Hull. Sophie Cunningham has no limitations. The same is true for Kelsey Mitchell. This implies that the roster for the upcoming season may be entirely different. Cox clarified, however, that she is not in a panic. Plan as much as you can, she advised. We will be prepared to proceed as events unfold. Although it seems like a safe general manager response, it's clear from reading between the lines that she's being extremely cautious not to reveal too much because this offseason isn't just about players leaving. The goal is to completely restructure the system to accommodate Caitlin Clark.
Basically, Amber Cox came back and said, I think we control the controllables, right? You start prepping for, obviously, the college season, for what's going on internationally, planning out our scouting, both domestically and internationally.
At last, the Fever seen what transpires when Clark is well and surrounded by talented shooters. The offense simply flows more naturally. The distance becomes better. The court's energy completely shifts. What is their grand scheme, then? Although Amber Cox didn't mention any people by name, she did leave a significant hint. They are concentrating on guys that match the system, she added. That's GM jargon meaning we're chasing the right ones, not just big names. That's wise because Indiana doesn't need another famous person to take over the limelight. When defenses falter against Clark and Boston, they need veterans who can defend, grab rebounds, and actually make shots. Since not every aspect of this interview was composed and professional, this is when things started to get a bit heated. Fans went crazy when Kelsey Mitchell posted a pretty mysterious Instagram message shortly after those remarks appeared. This is her writing. I was eager for a little bit of grief. Most of it was indifferent. Everything was focused on the game. I didn't give you a life jacket. Tell him. Tell your mom. I remained in survival mode because, to Pop's blueprint, that ability to survive made me shut up and go hunting continues to be the motto. There is no more zero. Try deciphering that one, please. The crucial element that everyone saw right away was the final zero gone. Naturally, her jersey number is 0. What exactly does that mean, then? Is she merely going black for the off-season, or is she announcing her departure from Indiana? Although no one truly knows, it sounds like she is carefully considering her alternatives. This is when Caitlin Clark enters the picture once more. It was during Clark's injury that Kelsey had her breakthrough season. Mitchell was given more touches, more shoots, and more latitude to direct the action as a result. However, she will be the center of attention when Clark returns the following year, which might be problematic. Nobody likes to be the second choice after being the star, let's face it. Furthermore, Mitchell is simply too excellent for her to ignore that thinking. She will stay because she genuinely thinks this team can succeed. However, if she departs, everything will revolve on opportunity, the ability to manage her own group in a different location. And for that reason, this offseason is so fascinating. Although Amber Cox is aware that Caitlin Clark is now the focal point, she also understands how painful losing Mitchell would be. She is at the center of the playbook, the system, and even their scouting strategy. At that point, the GM's remarks were quite revealing. According to her, they are creating strategies for player growth depending on the needs of each person. Translation: in order to best utilize Clark's talents, they are tailoring off-season training. To prevent her from burning out while covering the best guards every night, it entails improved spacing, increased pick-and-roll chemistry with Boston, and greater defensive support. And, to be honest, that's the best course of action. It's not necessary for Clark to accomplish everything. All she needs are the appropriate colleagues to do their responsibilities. The Fever are assembling a team that can finally advance, despite the headlines being on who is staying and who is leaving. And if they perform well this offseason, they may be a contender rather than merely a postseason club. Here's the twist, though. All of this preparation could be for naught if the WNBA CBA crisis carries on for too long. Because nobody is certain of the precise nature of the pay system at this time. Players like Mitchell would be free to move around if the core years vanished. Amber Cox must balance contracts, find fresh talent, and maintain the synergy that has brought them this far in a race against time. Yes, Caitlin Clark's summer preparations and rehabilitation play a significant role in that as well, because she remains the face of this franchise whether she is speaking at events, training, or relaxing. Thus, it should come as no surprise that Amber Cox referred to this offseason as the most crucial one yet, as it will determine if the Fever continues to show promise or whether they eventually begin to win titles. Let's now discuss the specific implications of this for Caitlin Clark. Amber Cox quietly stated that the Fever are refocusing their whole summer plan on Clark's growth and well-being while everyone else is discussing contracts and free agents. According to her, they have already begun consulting with the performance and medical personnel to create a customized strength and recuperation program. Translation: she won't be hurried back. They are prepared to adjust the roster to accommodate her being fully prepared by the upcoming season. Minutes are no longer the issue here. Mileage is the key. The Fever are aware that the franchise's long-term success depends on Clark's performance. The club wants to surround Clark with backcourt defenders with greater experience, Cox added. That's the clearest indication of the offseason thus far. It indicates that they are looking for someone who can relieve her of defensive strain. A seasoned player who can protect top scorers so Clark can concentrate on her strengths, which include leading the offense, managing the tempo, and destroying opponents from a distance. This might be the reason why scouts from Indiana were seen at a number of late-season games in Asia and Europe. They have reportedly been pursuing at least 2 foreign security personnel who are capable of both shooting and defending. Although the squad has not yet revealed their names, those close to them claim they are serious about bolstering the perimeter's length and defense. Additionally, it was the first time the Fever had sounded like they had a clear plan in years. Another intriguing statement was made by Amber Cox. She acknowledged that the Fever occasionally leaned too much on Caitlin and Boston, which revealed their true nature. When you have 2 stars that young, it's tempting to run everything through them, she said. However, we must balance it out if we want to win big. She is correct. Clark cannot be expected to defend the opposing team's top guard, play 38 minutes each night, carry the ball, and score 25 points. That is a recipe for burnout. Therefore, the front desk intends to bring in role players with the ability to smash glass and expand the floor. In essence, the items that vanish each time Clark is double-teamed. Now, the coaching side is the other headline that everyone may have overlooked. Stephanie White, the head coach,